Soldiers of Reddit, what's something you wish you knew before you enlisted? There is always going to be a dumbass in your chain of command. That's life, and these people make everything worse. How bad there is based on the baseline being MOS, unit, commander skill in recognizing and addressing until they move on. That there is a hidden rank of having deployed and not, and combat experience or not. My time was between being junior and senior. No changing MOS past the recruiter and signing up. Don't let anyone fool you. 99.9% chance you are stuck until you re-up. There is a distinct vision between combat arm units and support admin units. One says so and the other claims they are just as good but have elevated skills to boot. Based on my experience, maybe true, probably not. Motted suck. Look it up. If you are joining for any other reason than wanting to check your box serve be in war, don't go infantry. Find a job that can translate to civilian jobs. Tons more, but I'm done pooping now and pretty sure someone is waiting their turn here at the office. That it wasn't a band of brothers. That I'd go through training with a bunch of guys who never should have graduated high school and in many cases were only not in jail by luck and circumstance. That no matter how loyal you are, if you lose your current spot, even with exemplary ratings, you may be denied re-enlistment due to budget concerns, basically no loyalty back to you. That you will be expected to do your job in ways that are dangerous, negligent and often illegal because the resources don't exist for you to do it right, and it is your ass on the line, basically no loyalty back to you. I met some truly good people that made me proud to serve. I wasn't in long enough to feel as though I have the right to call myself a veteran, though I am, and honorably discharged. But the only branch I will support a child of mine joining is the Air Force. And even then I'll be very careful about coaching them on picking their MOS and to remember it is a job as political as high school or any cube farm. TBF, that's how the corporate world is too. Zero loyalty. No reason to fill any obligation beyond your job function and the paycheck it produces. Keep a paper copy of all your records, everything to include les. Servers crash and sheet gets lost. Take a day once a year and really go through everything on your digital records and download to a personal drive. I've been in 20 years and more times than I can to admit I've been asked to have records for our duck up. Matter of fact, I do. Was enlisted from 2009 to 2014. Forward observer in the 1505th pig. 3 things I wish I knew. 1. I wish I knew how significant alcohol is to military culture. Like drinking is a big part of the esprit de corps. Be prepared for a lot of alcohol consumption. Which also means alcoholism is a serious issue. Especially in the combat arms roles units too. I wish I knew how bad the sexual harassment, sexual assault problem is within military culture as well. Like it's really bad. I have a deployment to Afghanistan and it was the sexual assault I experienced that gave me PTSD, not the deployment. 3. Don't go airborne. It sounds cool and the extra $150 is great. But now that I'm out and it's been a few years, all my joints hurt. My knees are practically useless and my hip will prevent me from walking far distances at times. If you do want to go to jump school, be a 5 jump chump. Avoid airborne units at all costs if you value long-term joint health. Bonus tip, if you have the option, always choose the Air Force DEFOC over the armies. They always have the better food and nicer dining facilities. How god awful bored you're going to be 99% of the time. I was in the infantry, and it seemed like 99% of our time was spent sitting around doing nothing. And at the units I was in, that literally meant nothing. Couldn't have a phone out, so you just sat there, from 9 AM to 5 PM, or really until 445, when they'd magically find a Koenix you need to 100%. That, and you'll be punished for other people screwing up. I can't tell you the number of times I was standing in formation at 1:15 AM on a Friday night, Saturday morning because some idiot got a DUI, and that meant everyone got punished because of it. I wish I would have known that I would be sent to a combat unit. I picked a good MOS, medic. My recruiter told me that because I am female I would go to a hospital. I did not. I went to a 12B unit. It was beyond horrible being the only female. How much of a difference there can be between units. You can find yourself hating your experience and chalking it up to it just being how military life is, but rather than getting out as soon as you can, it might just take a transfer to completely turn things around. God yes. I was seriously let down when I left Germany during the drawdown in 1994. I ended up at FT Lewis. I went from a unit with a 12-hour deployment window to one with a 45-day deployment window. Rumor was that the unit had screwed up majorly in Vietnam and was still being punished for it. I do not regret enlisting, but man, those Air Force guys sure had it nice. Those Navy guys never slept on the ground and always had a hot meal and a bed. Marines really are hard charging and full of pride, but man can they do some stupid shit. I was artillery and I can assure you that the only jobs out that are hiring artillerymen you really don't want. Got out and was hired on as a security guard. You know what, that was a horrible job. It was guard duty, just an 8-hour shift and it sucked. My advice, get out, use your GI Bill, go to college and get a decent job. A lot of people will argue with me, but the difference in my job now with a degree and without it is about $25K a year. I was in the Marines, so I'll begin by opening a can of worms and say that I'm not and was not soldier. But I should have picked a different MOS, I was infantry. Also I think I wish I would have known the level of abuse I would have to put my body through that would eventually come back to haunt me now. I've had 3 surgeries to try and fix some stuff and I'll be having 2 more this year. I'm in my early 30s and I feel like my body twice as old. Why is a Marine not a soldier? Or is that just a semantics thing? A soldier is by definition someone in the army. Some in the Navy is a sailor, Air Force is an airman, and in the Marine Corps a Marine. If you mean someone in the military, generally the correct term is service member. I joined to get education paid for, to travel, and for career. I wish I had known the following. 1. Could have went ROTC and did college first. Then, I could have went active duty. 2. The National Guard is high school all over again. Avoid it if you can. Or join and make it better. IDK. 3. You can choose your initial MOS and reclass later. You can always reclass to anything you meet eligibility requirements for. 4. I wish I had joined the Air Force based on their employability rate due to the fact that most of their training school translates better to civilian. 5. Line of duty reports need to be done. Whenever you're injured, document. If you have major injuries or problems, go to your local VA and just have an exam done. Document. 6. Scan copies of all paperwork or documents and email them to yourself. Subject should be the form or document. In the body explain what it is so that you'll know what it is later. Use a personal email for this because you may not have access to military email or portals later. 7. Take pictures of yourself standing professionally in uniform. Backdrop doesn't matter. Just a nice photograph of you in full uniform, not flipping the bird or making an awful face. You'll want it later. Served from 0914. How much the VA ducking sucks. I swear to God they deliberately duck things up so veterans get frustrated and stop trying to access the services they need through the VA. The amount of times they have lost my paperwork, cancelled appointments, or don't have something on record is too damn high for an organization that is supposed to be for veterans. I eventually stopped going to the VA and relied on Medicaid and other low-cost free services from non-profit organizations and my college. It's just another bureaucratic job career. The amount of hooing and hyping it up makes it seem like this amazing experience. Yes, I value the connections I made and I am grateful for it, but after everything, it really is just another job. Show up where you are supposed to be, do your job well, rinse repeat. It's not as hard or as bad as a lot of people would say. If they normalized it and made it less about boot camp and getting deployed and more about being a professional, it would be a better and much more normalized experience. The Drugas, injuries, and illnesses. So much Drugas. Was given so much oxy, ibuprofen, tramadol, Percocets, deconamine, all kinds of controlled substances like it was candy. When I was sick or injured and given Drew Guts like candy. Other soldiers would offer Drew Guts if you had any sort of ailment. While it was great that medications were available, I am surprised there isn't a bigger addiction problem in the military and more soldiers overdosing. The racism and sexism. Holy shit, the casual racism and sexism from fellow soldiers and superiors was insane. The amount of fights that happened because some white dude dropped the N-word with the hard air or said some racist shit was insane. I had a situation where someone asked me my tribal name before I became a slave. I nearly snapped, but handled it as best as I could. When I reported the incident, the sergeant nearly ripped the soldier's head off because he wouldn't stop and was trying to justify what he said. Most of the sexism came from the higher ups, but of course there were some fellow soldiers who were just racist, sexist, hateful assholes. The lack of preparation to re-enter the civilian world. I wasn't prepared to come home. It took so long to adjust to being back. The hyper-awareness made me stand out and sometimes it concerned others. Being so wired all the time made people uneasy. Finding a job was hard. I had a top secret clearance, certificates, experience, but the civilian job hunting process was soul crushing. Companies didn't count experience in my field as real experience, because I didn't have a college degree and some also made it clear they didn't want veterans. On interviews I got questions like, "You don't have PTSD or anything like that, right?" Certain cities are not veteran friendly, which made it harder to find housing and other services I needed. Eventually, I stopped putting my service and experience on my resume and left that veteran box unchecked. Never trust the ducking recruiter. They don't know shit about the jobs you're applying for. They are salesmen, nothing more. All they care about is getting people to sign the dotted line. Overall, I got a great deal out of military service. I enlisted for 97B counterintelligence agent, which is now 35M or 35L, I forget which. I wish I knew how competitive and political it could get. In headquarters and strategic level units you can have your career destroyed for no other reason than someone didn't like you. Or that a superior who felt you threatened his position would set you up for failure and blame it all on you. If criminal activity is suspected, they don't care if you actually did it, just if they can pin it on you. For instance, I had a supervisor suspected of travel voucher fraud. He skated because he was just that good, an old school Cold War guy who knew how to play the system. A friend of mine in the HQ staff tipped me off that they were coming for me next. He specifically told me, "They know you didn't do anything, but they need to pin it on someone. Make sure your paperwork is in order." Fortunately, I kept all my travel paperwork and a copy of my supervisor's paperwork, which I used as a model to complete mine. The investigating officers were visibly disappointed that I had all my paperwork. I went on to have a great civilian career in agencies like Missile Defense, Homeland Security, Department of Commerce, and a few others. Not a soldier, but a friend of mine fought in Vietnam. He was promised, among other things, free healthcare for the rest of his life if he enlisted, so he did. Turned out he was good at fighting. Really good, so he ended up in Special Forces. He fought in Laos and Cambodia, where the US was not supposed to be, so all of those operations are still secret to this day. He spent months in the jungle, alone, with minimal supplies. He slept in tents made of leaves, ate monkey and snake. At one point he basically lived on nothing but sugar cane, befriended a squirrel, and ambushed enemy squads for their supplies. I don't know what his mission was, exactly, as he's still not allowed to talk about it. As you might imagine, all this took a toll on his body. He can barely walk, his liver is almost completely non-functional, and he has the worst diabetes I have ever seen. He's been trying to get disability from the VA hospital, but because he got ducked up on secret missions that the government refuses to acknowledge, he's denied every time. Every new president since he was discharged has cut VA funding. In recent years he has been denied basic procedures that normal civilian insurance would easily cover. But he can't afford normal insurance, because he can barely function, so has to settle for a minimum wage job. When he came home after the war, People spat on him and called him a baby kriller. He had problems finding a job because of the stereotype that veterans suddenly go crazy. Some businesses would refuse to serve him. It took him over a year just to find a place that would sell him a car. He once told me he regrets serving his country. I wish I knew how much of a waste of time the reserve would be. If you deploy, you still get less than 50% of the benefits of someone who goes active and never deploys. Even if you get long missions, they don't count if they aren't the right class of orders, no matter how long the mission is. Most of your chain of command doesn't care about any civilian obligations, as they usually are full-time soldiers anyway. And if you decide you want to go active, you usually can't. It's easy to go from active to reserve, but hard to go reserve to active. You are not a badass, you are not a krella, you are not a hero. You're a weapon. Your individual life means nothing outside your immediate friends and family. You'll get told what to do and you'll have to do it. You can be as strong and smart as anyone, but you can still die with one bullet, or one overpressured tire, or one malfunctioning sensor. Don't do it for the military culture or the phony heroism. That gets you nods and thanks for your service on the special days. Doesn't pay your bills. Despite what you think or see on the screen, it's very boring. Interspersed with really shitty things. There's not a clear mission most of the time. You're deployed to do a job, and then stay in a small area to wait to do your job again. It's probably better now, but it's likely tense or now trailers. The diesel-powered hot water generator is a bastard. All the nationals who will work for the support companies will likely hate you but willingly take your money. Do it if you want an adventure and you don't care about your comfort or safety. Do it if you don't care about politics in your own country or any other country. Do it if you want to know you did something very difficult and survived, but not because you want to brag about it. Nobody cares beyond the superficial thanks for your service. A free meal at Applebee's one day a year isn't recompense for missing out on the lives of your children. Still, it was nice not to have to pick out what to wear each day.